Good morning, YouTube. It's 10 a.m. in the great state of Texas, and I got a package in the mail, and I'm going to try to open it with my very, very dull knife that you see there. So, past couple of weeks, we've been working with different types of wood. I ordered a grab bag off of Amazon, and I've been working with different kinds of wood blanks. But those wood blanks are a lot smaller than what I like to work with, even though they work really well on the lathe. We've had some success building little projects with it. I decided to splurge and spend some money and get myself a larger bowl blank. So what we're working with here today is walnut, and it's one of my favorite woods to work with. I absolutely love the grain of this wood. When you have a larger piece to work with, you can make something a little bit more substantial. So that's what we're going to end up doing today, and you can just see how large this bowl is comparatively with the previous projects that we've been doing in the past. So what we're going to do is get the faceplate on there, and then we're going to turn that onto the lathe. And I've gotten a lot better about using guide holes and drilling this down. So I've been learning my lesson over the past couple of projects just to take my time, drill these guide holes, and get the faceplate on there. So somebody asked me why I wear gloves when I put the faceplate on. It's because, first of all, I am not very good at putting the faceplate on, and sometimes when you're drilling down those screws, the bowl blank will spin when you're using the driver, and I've been cut before on my fingers, so I just like to use gloves when I do that part, just so in case I lose control of the bowl blank, it doesn't cut my hands. And yes, I have already read the other comments that I got. Don't, use gloves with a wood lathe. And I know that is very dangerous, but I am extra careful, and it's just how I like to do my projects. So in case you're just wondering, that's kind of my process. So we got this onto the lathe. Obviously, we got the faceplate on there, and now we're just turning this down into a nice cylinder. And somebody also asked me, why I don't use different gouges and I only use carbide primarily. To be honest, it's mostly because I have such a difficult time sharpening those gouges that I just prefer to use carbide tools. I think I get the same effect with it. I've been doing that for years now, and I do use gouges. I used to use those quite a bit when I first started woodworking, but I just found that me personally using carbide tools like this, they work. I know what I'm doing with those, and I just feel a lot more comfortable. So that's just how I like to do it. That doesn't mean you have to do it, but if you were ever wondering why, that's just primarily the reason. So everything's going pretty smooth. The project went really well overall. I'm not going to have a lot of catastrophic issues with this, other than all this dust and the bowl itself just turning and me trying not to inhale all of that. But once we got that into a nice cylinder shape, obviously we just made the mortise. Now we're taking off the faceplate, and we're, got the actual shape of the bowl here. And it looks really good. Everything's going pretty smooth so far. And now we're just going to make the final shape for what we want the bowl to be. And there I am, just taking the flat carbide tool and just getting everything nice and level. And then once we do that, I'm going to go ahead and make another mortise, because we are going to make a lid with this, because in 2024, that's kind of the direction that we're taking the channel, or at least my projects, is just making lids. And this is my least favorite part of this project. So in spite of how sharp my parting tool is, my wood lathe is kind of on its final legs, and gouging this out and just, separating the main bowl from what's going to eventually be the lid took a little time to do. So I had to start and stop the lathe a couple of times. You could actually, I don't know if you can see it, but in real life there was smoke coming up there because the heat and the friction and everything kind of caused that to happen. But got that all done, and now this is going to be the main portion of our bowl here, and we're just going to start just gouging this out. And the great thing about working with this wood, it's very easy to work with. Against the chisels, I didn't have a lot of issues. I think I got a catch maybe once or twice once I started to get to the bottom of the bowl, and you'll see that a little bit later. But mostly, this project didn't have a lot of issues here. And then we're just gauging how far we're going to go as far as the depth, making sure not to go through the mortise, and then completely done with that. So now we're going to go ahead and just make the lid portion of the bowl, and got that nice and flat, just sizing up the actual bowl against what's going to be the lid. And now we're just kind of starting and stopping the lathe, taking the material down, trying to size up everything the way that we want to. And bam, there it is right there. think that was the last one, and got a nice little snug fit to it. And now we're going to make a mortise on this portion of it, and going to just try to eyeball how far we're going to go, not trying to go deep enough because I got to flip it again onto the lathe. So here we are. Now we're just going to make the dome portion of this. And the great thing about working with this wood is that this project went really well. Obviously, the sanding is going to be the most interesting part of this because that's where you kind of really get that wood grain to come out. But this part didn't take much time at all. Looks really good. I just have those, screw holes in there from where the faceplate was. But don't worry, we're going to do something special with those once we finish the sanding. So not a whole lot of sanding done in this project. We went from 50 grit, and then we're going to go up to 80 grit, and just really just try to get those lines down, and then come back and then try. I need to work on my camera work. Oh my goodness. But yeah. So sanding it, obviously my favorite part. All woodworkers love sanding. I can't stand it, just like every other woodworker out there. And yes, again, I'm wearing gloves because if you've ever sanded anything on a wood lathe, there is a lot of friction. So that'll burn your fingers. And yes, I know. Don't be like me. Use common sense. I'm not a very good woodworker. So if you're out there freaking out watching my video, asking me why I'm wearing gloves, it's because I'm not very good at this. But here's all the shavings, the dust, and everything that came with this bowl. Just completely wrecked the wood table there, and my workbench is completely covered. The camera's completely covered. But we're gonna clean this up, and then we're gonna get the payoff here. Gonna use some Yorkshire grit. Haven't used this in quite a while, but you're just gonna see just how this wood grain looks absolutely beautiful once you get that in there, and it looks awesome. Look how just dark that is. Makes that wood just come out and just gives it that personality, which is what the payoff of this project is going to be. And I really love how this turned out. And then we're going to hit back with some polish, some Shellac wax. This stuff smells really weird, but it really does shine up the wood and hydrates it. And you can just see there just how cool this looks. And don't worry, we're also going to do this with the main bowl itself. You just got to take your time and just polish everything up. So here we are again, Yorkshire grit first. We're going to rub that in there and then polish it down and then give the lathe a spin. Don't be stingy with this stuff. Use a good amount of it because it really just hydrates the wood and just really gets that grain to come out. So we just came back a couple of times with a couple of different layers and just get everything embedded in there. So once we did this, same thing, we're going to come back, hit it with some Shellac wax as well, and then we're going to finish it off here, drilling our hole. Also, don't hold a lid and then punch through it with a drill because it did hit my hand, which was stupid. So again, I'm not a very good woodworker, but we're just using our light bright peg here. Got that drilled in. Then we're going to take some 15-minute epoxy, and we're going to take a little bit of mica powder, and we're going to fill in those drill holes and kind of give it an aesthetic kind of look. So instead of just leaving those in there, we're going to give it a little bit more personality. And we're just taking 15-minute epoxy and just filling those in, and it just gives it a little something extra, I think, and it makes it look really good. But size-wise, this project turned out really beautiful. I love how this looks. Here's the finished project. The camera does not give it justice. This looks absolutely beautiful. I love how this looks. A little bit rougher on the edge there, as you can see, but overall, really happy how this turned out. I think this is probably one of my favorite bowls that I've built. But hope you guys liked it. Hope you got something out of it. Really appreciate everybody watching the channel. We've really grown in the past couple of weeks, but here we are, another good project in the books, and hope you guys liked it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, peace. All right, so project is done, and check out this guy. So this is Walnut. I'm sure I went over that in the commentary, but man, this is probably one of my most favorite woods to work with. And like you guys saw me do a grab bag project like this a couple of weeks back, probably a month or so ago, and it was a lot smaller, but this one is definitely a lot bigger, and it looks really cool. Ended up taking those holes that I made and just putting epoxy in them, and they look pretty cool overall. I really like the aesthetic. It doesn't look as great, but overall, really happy how that little guy turned out. So you guys are watching this literally tomorrow. It is April 6th of 2024. You guys are watching this on the 7th of April, 2024. So hope you guys liked it. Hope you got something out of it. A little something different. Really cool looking bowl. Like how this looks. Really cool. I love this sound. This is probably my favorite sound. Like, that's awesome. Woodworking. Craziness. And don't mind the poofiness in my eyes. This is from wearing the goggles to protect my face. But anyway, hope you guys liked it. And I'll see you in the next one. And hope you guys are liking all the bonus stuff we're putting out too. So catch you in the next one. All right, peace.